The Vera Show. The Vera Show. The Vera Show. The Vera Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello. Yes, I'm excited to be here today, and I'm excited about my guest, Stephen Turner. He is the president of Flow Business Solutions. What I'm going to do before I pull him up, I'm going to show a little video, which will give you a little bit more information about him, and then we'll have our conversation.
Good morning. It's good to see you today. My name is Steve Turner, and I want to talk to you about our business here, Flow Business Solution. We got started as a result of responding to a hug in my heart, I guess you could say. I spent 35 years in corporate America, 34 on the management team at UPS, and we spent 10 years in the entrepreneurial space since then. And the one thing I've always enjoyed about business are the people, because nothing happens without them. All through my management career at UPS, people were our most important asset, because through them, things happen. Through them, we provide great services, provide great products. In the entrepreneurial space, same thing, services and products. So we are only as successful as the people who report to us. So that's the main focus of our business. We cover a few things in this in Flow Business Solution. We cover the opportunity for a second revenue stream that complements your current one. We talk about encouraging business owners to go in a direction that fulfills their call and their desire for their life and their business. But I really like to focus on people because it's the common thread through everything. You know, I learned something when I was at UPS. I spent 5 years in Europe, worked in 11 different countries over there. I learned something over there. I didn't realize it when I was there, but I realized it when I got back, got into the coaching business. It's this, very simply. Cultures vary, hearts do not. No matter where you go, no matter what business you're in, no matter what the location is, people have the same basic desires. They want to be well-trained. They want to have a future. They want to be appreciated, and they want to be treated well. If we do all those things, our teams will follow us. So with that, that's our main focus. We help business leaders learn how to lead people instead of managing them. It's worth it. It's our greatest asset. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day.
That was a mouthful. Oh my goodness. That was awesome. And I love what you said when you said our people are our greatest asset. And I want to acknowledge a guest that's listening. I met her at a conference. Hello, Nicola. Thank you so much for listening. I've got this feedback going on. I don't know why. But thank you so much for listening to me. And right now, I'm going to give Stephen the floor. I'm going to mute myself so that we don't have this feedback. And I want you to share with our audience your story. How did you get to where you are? And tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, I had a pretty interesting journey. I entered the management space at a young age of 20 years old. I was going to college. I was a sophomore in college at the time. and I'd worked at UPS for a year. And one day, one of the other supervisors came up and asked me if I'd be interested in being a part-time supervisor. So I had wanted to do it. To be honest, I was waiting for them to ask me, so that worked well. So anyway, yes, I got started. It was on June 1st, a long time ago. So anyway, when I got started, it doesn't really matter, your 30s, 40s, and 50s, how old the leader is, but it does in the 20s. So at 20 years old, I was going to have most of the people that were reporting to me were older than I was. So I had to start on the right foot. And I was still living at home at the time. So my mom was working, and she would come home and she would tell me what was happening on the management team at the organization she was working with. And it was a big organization. You'd recognize the name if I told you. But I'm not going to give the name. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus because that was a long time ago and things can change from then. But when I listened to her stories, I learned what not to do. So that was my first lesson. The second lesson is what I decided to do to be successful in this particular situation. And that was I would simply treat everybody like I'd like to be treated. And it worked on day one, and it's worked every day over the last 45 years. So, it got started well. It's the golden rule, right? Just stated slightly differently. So I got started and got off to a really good start and progressed along through the part-time years at UPS. I was going to college. I was in the business school at University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. And when I graduated, normally the part-time supervisors would go drive for a while. So they get the driving experience, considering it's a delivery company. And something interesting happened for me. I had the opportunity to pass up that spot. So I'm waiting for a driving assignment, and all of a sudden, I'm invited to come and visit our controller. So the manager I was reporting to, we went up to see the controller, and things happen when you least expect them sometimes, and sometimes it can take you by surprise. And that's what happened to me. I was not expecting the controller to ask me if I would be interested in working in the billing department in a remote office 100 miles from Milwaukee, because I was in Milwaukee at the time. And I didn't answer him very well. I was so shocked. I didn't know what to say. I was like, hadn't thought of it, hadn't talked to my wife about it, and anything. So that interview didn't go real well. But I came into work the next day, cleaned out my head, and decided, hey, this is a golden opportunity. What are you doing? So I went to my manager and I said, I know I screwed it up yesterday, but I would like to talk to him. He says, okay. So I got another trip up to the controller's office, and shortly thereafter, I started my first full-time assignment at UPS, supervising the billing, CODs, accounts receivable collections department at UPS in a remote office 100 miles from Milwaukee. So move number one, boom.
That's amazing.
And here and moved back to Milwaukee because we moved the office. But I learned a massive amount of stuff when I worked in that remote office, because we had 35 women there, 35 women, and 3 of us were managers. And so I learned, it was valuable to me because I learned the priorities of mothers and wives.
Before you go on, I want to recognize another listener. Hello, Dr. Harris, Josephine Harris. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it. Please like and share. This is a very informative broadcast because we're going to be talking about leaders being more than managers, but actually leaders, and what that means, what that entails. So thank you so much, Dr. Josephine, for listening. All right. And I muted you so that we wouldn't have that feedback. So as you're talking, I'll mute myself. And then as you're talking, I'll mute myself.
So anyway, so I spent this year working with mothers and wives, learned the priorities of them. And here's one of the priorities I learned, and it's been valuable ever since. When women go home from work, their day isn't done. So they're going home, they're cooking dinner and whatever. And the point of that is this: they don't like overtime. They don't have time for overtime. And when I got up to that office, uh, there was an hour to an hour and a half of overtime every day in that office. So I was still new there. I had to learn the business, but the manager and we got together on his suggestion, because I was new, that we would redo all of the schedule to try to get rid of the overtime. So we did it. We took the schedule, threw it up in the air, settled it down, put everything back together again, and said, okay, we're going to try this new schedule. And the objective is to get rid of the overtime so you guys can go home on time. And one of the ladies came in and said, this will never work. This has been tried before. So I said, well, just give it a chance. It worked on day one and every day thereafter. So it was a great thing for the office. The ladies got to go home at night and do the rest of their life. And it was a victory, but it was a case where listening to your people to find out what are the things that nag them, that make them not as effective as they could be. And basically, if you put it in a big bucket, you can describe it as the atmosphere that people work in. So if you
Absolutely.
create
Absolutely.
the best atmosphere possible, within reason, of course, that your employees will follow you because you're taking care of them. So
Yes.
we did that, and that worked great.
Now, one of the things that you said that just popped out, uh, that popped out for me is the other parts of your team. Your team listened to what you said, which gave you value and made you feel important, and it also gave that cohesion in order to make the dream work, make the team work. Because you had that. You A lot of times, lower level managers or leaders in an organization, they don't have that kind of support. So you were very fortunate that you had a listening ear with what it was that you wanted to do to change that trajectory.
Yeah, exactly. It's teamwork no matter where you are, whether you're working in the management team or you're working with the people that report to you. It's the same thing. It's relationships. People were made to be relational. They weren't made to be ordered and told what to do directly. That's really becomes not too efficient after a while. So I was in
And
this.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I was in this office for a year, and moved back to the Milwaukee area. So that was move number 2 for me. And 6 of the ladies from that office moved to Milwaukee and joined the group. And those 6 ladies, I'll tell you what, they knew the job so well. We put them in the key spots in all the different departments. And they were really instrumental with their expertise and their resilience when push came to shove. They dug it in and got it done. And they were really, really a blessing to make that move. So. And you're muted. Okay, you're muted. Can you hear me? You can? Okay, I'll keep talking. All right. So the rest of my journey. So I got back to the office in Milwaukee and worked in that office. That was an extension of the accounting department, and continued on there. I was promoted into my first manager's role in while I was there, and learned some more things, valuable things about people. Again, the importance of listening and helping people. I can give you a little story. I have a couple of them that helped develop my management philosophy. One of the stories was that I became a supervisor in the general accounting department. Now, this was a group of people where they were all experts in what they did. So this is one of those situations where the leader comes in and doesn't know any of the work and will never know the work as well as the people that are there. So one of the guys that was in that group said to me, he says, "Are you another one of these guys riding in on the white horse to try to fix all our problems?" And I told him, I said, "Well, not really, considering I don't know how to do the work yet. I have to learn it from you." And a couple, 3 weeks later, I had an opportunity to help him with something, and then the issue was over. The value of being able to help somebody solve a problem, whether it's business, whether it's personal, it doesn't matter. It's valuable, and people will follow you when you do that. Another lesson I learned there is perception is reality until proven otherwise. So we have to be careful of what we think we're doing or what we're doing versus the way we're perceived to be functioning. So I had gotten this promotion to a manager's role, and a young supervisor came in and took my place. So I was working with her, and unfortunately, I didn't do a very good job of preparing her for the group. So that was my fault. But I was walking in the office one day, and one of the managers there asked me to come into the office. There was 3 managers in the entire department, so I was one. And he said, "You have developed a nickname." And I said, "Great, what is it?" He says, "Turner the Tyrant." And I said, "Where'd that come from?" And he told me what I had done or said or whatever, and the way it was perceived. And he told me that, and I gave the classic answer. I didn't mean that. And he gave the perfect response. He said, "It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what they saw." So I learned that was a big lesson, right? To be aware of how people receive what you're doing. Now, here's one of the great reasons of the value of relationships and the value of having a relationship with your people, so that they will come and tell you what you need to hear. And it happened all the time. I had one lady in particular would love telling me what was going on. So she'd stick her head in the door and she'd tell me something, and I'd say, "Thank you for telling me that."
And they did that because they felt, can you hear me now?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they felt comfortable enough to do that.
Okay. That's right.
So oftentimes in the workplace, people have this pent up stress and anxiety because they're not sure how their leaders and managers are going to react, relate, or respond to what it is that they're saying. So that says a lot about you. And the interesting thing for me is that you learned this at an early age.
Yep.
And you learned it as a result of seeing how things were going in the company that your mother worked in, and saying, "I'm not going to do things that way."
Yeah. So I'm going to get to the point. I'm going to tell you what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said. I'm going to answer the question that you didn't ask.
Okay.
A little bit later on. So anyway, so I kept going there, and then I again, I done okay there. And then I got promoted and I moved to Columbus, Ohio. And now I was working in a region office. So this is move number, what is it? 1, 2, 3 at this point. And so I worked in a region office. I learned how to work a region office because one thing about a region office, when I'm used to being on the street, right? Working in the business. So in this region office, I was now an advisor. So I learned that even though I didn't really like that job particularly, it turned out to prepare me for what was coming about 5 years later. So I did that job for about 3 years. And then I had an opportunity. I learned something valuable there. Again, when you work in an advisory role, you are planting seeds, but somebody else is watering them. Because I can't go in and do something and stay there long enough to add the water. So I would initiate and inspire the water by phone calls, following up on the things that I had done. But again, it's just another way of relationships where people will follow you. And then, let's see, what came next? Then I took over an office that was hurting. And this, if I was to take any 2 years in my life as an example of what you can do, this is it. So I took over an office that was not doing very well. So when I went up there, all I did, first of all, there hadn't been anybody promoted from this office in probably 7 years. I was familiar with the people because I visited there on my region assignment. So now I'm going in there as the manager of the office. So I go in there and all I did was inspire and release the skills in the people that were there. Nobody lost their job. Nobody left. And people worked together. And I instilled the importance of working together. I think about every 2 weeks, we had pizza parties. And during those pizza parties, we'd be working, I think it was always a Wednesday night. And we would audit each of the different departments. So if it was billing, everybody would come in that department. Then 2 weeks later, go to another department. And this whole thing of everybody auditing each other, first of all, it was very educational and inspired everybody to work together. So,
and it was also very empowering because to know that leadership and management is allowing you as staff to give feedback to each other, and also the engagement, the eating together, you did all the right things. No wonder you have your business called Flow Business Systems.
There's a reason for I'll have to tell you the reason for the word flow.
Okay.
I'll tell it to you right now.
Okay.
When I started this business, it was inspired by the Holy Spirit. Flow is a symbol of the Holy Spirit. Water. Yep, there it is. You can see underneath it is kind of like the stream, the flow of water. And it's Flow Business Solution. It's singular because there's one Holy Spirit source.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
So that's how the name came up.
And it's interesting because when you put your faith into your work, and scripture talks about business and the success of business, God allows you to have good success with your business. And for you to take that Holy Spirit concept, because he's everywhere all around us and he does lead, guide, and direct us, which is so awesome. And so having that as your base for your business tells me that it can't do anything but succeed. It can't do anything but build on the relationships, because you've started your relationship on a firm foundation. That is awesome. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so in this 2 years, we moved the office up to where it became one of the elites in UPS in the accounting function. Now, what was interesting was hope I can get through this story because this is one of my tearjerker stories. So
Before you do, let me take a break.
okay.
Okay. And then we'll come back to that tear breaking story. So
Okay.
we'll be right back.
As a business pro, you know the way to make real money is to have a big, qualified audience listen carefully to your every word. Step up and speak at the Global Awaken Trinity Summit, and that's exactly what you'll have. It's a 4-day event aimed exclusively at those who want to make their business, any business, take off, grow, and thrive. The best will be teaching and inspiring, and you should be one of them. From marketing tool secrets to the best ways to build relationships and make connections. Founder Kessa Gooden is putting on this once-in-a-lifetime event, the Global Awaken Trinity Summit VIP Gala and Yacht Mastermind. Registration starts at 9 sharp each day, February 29th through March 3rd, 2024 in Miami, Florida. To speak or for tickets, call 404-992-3971. Spaces are filling up, so call now. 404-992-3971. Or visit us online at globalawakenedevents.com, and we will see you there. For real, take your business, any business, to the next level by joining us at the Global Awaken Trinity Summit. 4 days of opportunities and inside info you don't want to miss, as over 35 celebrity speakers will be live in person to teach you exactly how to make your business take off, grow, and thrive. From marketing tool secrets to the best ways to build relationships, partnerships, and make true connections. Founder Kessa Gooden is putting on this once-in-a-lifetime event, the Global Awaken Trinity Summit VIP Gala and Yacht Mastermind, February 29th through March 3rd, 2024 in Miami, Florida. Registration starts at 9 sharp each day. Bring your business partner, your team, your friends, anyone and everyone who wants real success. For tickets, call 404-992-3971. Tickets will not last, so call now. 404-992-3971. Or visit us online at globalawakenedevents.com, and we will see you there.
globalawakenedevents.com. And if you are interested in exploring being a speaker at this international event, then please go to the link that I put in the chat and inquire or contact Kessie. And yesterday was her birthday, so happy birthday, Kessie. And you can contact her at 404-992-3971. And again, this is for speakers and or if you plan to attend. It will be well worth it, whether you speak or you attend. Let me share with you. Let me let you know. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So now let's get back to your story.
All right. So before we had national audits. The national audit team would come in and basically examine the entire department, everything we did. Well, it so happened that this year I was on a special assignment. So I wasn't even in the office when the audit occurred. But I obviously knew the results because I was hearing about it. So the audit would run for 2 weeks and I wasn't even there for the 2 weeks. So anyway, the audits finished on a Friday night. I'm heading back home for the weekend. And I decided to stop at the office. So it was after work, so nobody was there. I got on the elevator, went up to the 3rd floor, opened the door, where the elevator door opened. And there on the wall was a banner that said, "Steve, we did it. 90.1%. Now I'm going to actually make it through this. The most important word on the wall was we. They had all done it. And it was just such a great feeling that they had all worked together to make it happen. And shortly thereafter, I got my next assignment. About this must have been August. 2 months later, I got another assignment. Out of that office, 5 people were promoted in the months that followed when I left, including the person that took my place. That's very rare that somebody would move into a manager's role from the same office. But this young man was so good, and he was so good with the people that they all respected him in his supervisor role. So he was set for the manager role. So then I went off to my first controller's assignment, and that was interesting as well. And I learned a lot there. And here's one thing I learned. You never know when the opportunity is going to knock on your door. So I got this, we had one of the quarterly stockholder meetings for UPS was in this location. Do you want me to stop?
Yes, Nicola, she says, awesome, Stephen. And this is a testament to what can happen when the leader allows his people to grow and to blossom and to have a sense of freedom in their work. Anymore, companies aren't doing a whole lot of that. So yes, awesome, Stephen. Absolutely. Okay. If you see me do this, you know I'm trying to make a point. But anyway,
okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I got to the controller's assignment. So that was move number 4. Is that number 5? I'm losing track. That's number 5. So move number 5. So I go into this office, and this was a pretty well-running office already. So I'm getting my first controller's assignment in a nice running office. So I could kind of do different things there rather than the repair role. This office, we probably had 100 people in there, and it was about a 20-hour operation a day. So I'd get there like 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and I would walk around and say hello to everybody that was there. Not individually, but just walk through, say hello, because I firmly believe that if I'm there, my people should know I'm there. I've heard other philosophies. I don't like it. So anyway,
Right.
so we did lots of things. We recognized people's anniversaries. You know, I had everybody's picture on a wall. So all the teams were all displayed on the wall. Then I heard something that almost floored me. And this is going to sound a bit arrogant, but I think it's important that you hear this because of what it really signifies. Okay. So I'm on my morning journey, and I walk into one of the computer area, and the person in there that was what we call a lead clerk, non-management, but they had responsibilities of that nature. She made this statement to me, and please take it for what it's worth. She says, "Steve, you're too smart for this job." And I was like, which is obviously not the case. But, and I had to think about this thing for a while, but what it really reflected was they had not experienced this type of leadership before.
Exactly.
And they appreciated it. So the lesson is, let people be themselves, guide them, obviously, right? Remember, in all of this stuff of listening to people and having great relationships, business is not a democracy, right? Leaders have responsibilities. But one of the responsibilities is to exercise the reality that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as we talk, and we'll do much better. So anyway, so I got over the shock of that statement and, continued on. And then had another situation where this is another example of relationships, but also running the business. So one of the ladies was going to the UK for a wedding, and she had 2 weeks vacation. So, okay, fine. Well, she had an opportunity to travel over there because her husband had the time available. So she wanted to have a 3rd week off, and UPS just doesn't do that. So, so she came to me and asked me about it. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I will let you go under one condition, that your fellow team members fill in for you, because I will not let the supervisor do your work. He's got his own work. So she came back to me a couple of days later and said they said that they would fill in for me. So I said, then you have your time. So she was gone for 3 weeks. Now think about this. What mileage did I get out of that?
A lot.
Right? She got to go there.
Yes, from several perspectives.
Yeah. Now, did it cost me anything? Yes, it did. Because that week when the ladies filled in for her, all that work was at overtime. So I paid time and a half for that 1 week to cover one person, to go to the UK and have a great time. And all the people in the department respected the fact that she had the chance to go.
So was it worth it?
It was well worth it, right? Yeah, it's well worth it. Creating camaraderie is valuable.
I'm going to write this in here because I love what you're saying. Creating camaraderie.
Camaraderie is beneficial. Yep. So I mentioned before that things happen when you least expect it. So the UPS was having the quarterly stockholders meeting, and I had the privilege of going to the airport, or to take our chief financial officer to the airport when the meeting was over. So I'm taking him over there, and he asked me a question. He says, have you ever thought about an international assignment? And I said, well, to be honest with you, my wife and I talked about that about 3 days ago, and we would be open to it. I said, I have to admit, though, I'd like to be in an English-speaking country. So that was it. So that was probably in October. Probably in October. Well, in December, the district manager called my office, talked to my office manager, who came to me and said, you need to go over to Ron's office. And I said, and am I supposed to take somebody over? She said, I asked him that question. He said, no, just go over there. Well, that's either one of two things are happening. You goofed up so bad that there's no use taking everything over, or there's a surprise coming. So I get over there. He looks at me and he says, you need to be in London on Monday. But I had to throw a little bit of water on this thing first, because I was about 2 weeks away from having my fourth child.
Oh, wow.
So I told him, I said, well, I really can't do that because I'm going to have a baby here shortly. He says, oh, I forgot about that. Okay, thanks. That's good. So the meeting was over and life rolled on. Baby showed up. And then he called me again. He says, are you ready? I said, ready for what? He said, are you ready to go to London now? And I made a comment to him, and it was a classic. I said, well, not a classic that I said it, but I loved his reaction. I said, well, I'm not quite done over here. And this is what he said. He said, so let me get this straight. You want me to ask UPS to stop its international expansion so you can finish your work here? And I said, I'll be there.
Wow. So, and see, but that says so much about how the company valued you and your abilities to change things, turn things around, all because you believed in your people and you built those relationships. And so that brings you to actually how you ended up doing your business. But anyway, go ahead. I'm going ahead of the story.
All right. So 2 weeks later, I was in London for my 1 week of orientation. Then I came back home for a week and then went back for 3 weeks. And it was 3 weeks on, one over for 6 months until I moved over there. Now, here's an interesting thing. The original job that I was supposed to go over for was a temporary assignment. And because I couldn't fill that role, somebody else took that role and I ended up with the permanent assignment. So I got what I really wanted in the first place.
So how long were you in London?
5 years.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, God worked it out.
Oh yeah, he's in charge. So, I had 4 kids over there. It was a nice 5 years, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. I liked working in international business. And I learned a lot over there as well. Remember, I mentioned that I was on the region assignment and it prepared me for something 5 years later? That region assignment prepared me for what I was going to have to be doing over there, because my assignment, I was a finance director in 10 countries, the 10 small countries. We had finance directors in Italy, Spain, France, the UK, and Germany, and I had everybody else. So I had the pleasure and the honor and the fun of covering 10 countries. So it was the Nordic countries: Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Austria, Belgium, the Netherlands, Greece, Turkey, and Ireland.
Oh my God. So
So I
what an
lived,
adventure. What an adventure. Oh my goodness. Let me shut up. Go ahead.
and I learned something so valuable. Again, this is one of those things that I didn't realize it while I was there, but I realized it when I look back, when I got into coaching and look back at it. And that is that no matter where I went, no matter what, because North Europe and Greece and Turkey are like night and day when it comes to the culture and the way, how they spend their 24/7. And I learned that cultures vary, but hearts do not. It doesn't matter where you are. People do the same. I had relationships in Turkey, which can be a difficult place to work, because I treated them like normal, like people. And I mean, I got some breaks over there. I'll give you another one. How much time do I have? Oh man. So I was over there. I negotiated the contracts with the agents that we had over there, the compensation contracts and whatever, to pick up and deliver packages for us in the countries we didn't have what we called brown operations in, UPS brown. So I was having this, and I had a good relationship with the guy that ran the Turkish that owned the Turkish operation, and he and I had a good relationship. And I heard something through one of the clerks over there told me, he said, I just want to let you know. He didn't have to tell me this, but he did. Turkish business people are admired for what they get away with when it comes to American companies. And I thought, okay, I'll stick that in my hip pocket in case I ever need it. Well, I never needed it because I had the relationship with the guy anyway. But still, the fact that the guy came and volunteered this information to me about his boss,
But what does that say? I mean, if
again,
they feel right, they trusted you, but what it also says is if they feel that they can do that to American countries, then that says a lot about us also in terms of how our dealings are with them.
Yep, that's right. So because of the relationship I had with this guy, with the owner of the business, I was negotiating a contract, probably the third year, I think it was by this time. And we got done. I went home, got back to London where I was living, obviously. And I realized I had made a mistake. I made a major mistake in this agreement. And I realized it when I woke up Saturday morning. I woke up and bang, it hit me. I get on the phone. I called him back. I called him. I called him by name. And I said, I need to talk to you. I made a mistake. And his answer was, I was waiting for your phone call.
Wow.
He didn't have to give me the break, but he did. So it all worked out fine. But again, relationships go miles and miles.
So tell me now, let's move to you now having your business here. Now you were with, say that again?
You want me to come back to the United States now?
Yeah. Well, before you do that, was there something else that happened?
There were a number of things, but we'll move on because I'm running out of time. I can see this. So anyway, I got back to the United States, and then I woke up one morning on a Tuesday to this message from the Lord. You're going to get an early retirement opportunity and you should take it. 2 days later, it showed up. 3 months later, I was done at UPS. Now, I'd been back here for a while, but in the technology, working in the technology group, which another educational experience. But anyway, so I left UPS, and then I kind of floated around a little bit, thinking about different things. I'm waiting for the next direction from the Lord. So I started a real estate company to flip houses. And I was in Atlanta on January 8th, 2008 at 3:30 in the afternoon. And I was getting training on how to market real estate on the internet. Remember, this was back in 2008. And while I'm there, I get this word. He speaks to me again. He says, "Market the management skills I gave you at UPS." That was the end of the real estate career.
I just want to respond to my guests. My audience. It says, "Hey, beautiful, love what you do." Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Keep sharing and liking and commenting. I appreciate it very much. All right. And so the thing that's really interesting, and me having met you and talked with you and understand, you really are led
Oh yeah,
by the direction of the
yeah,
Holy Spirit. And
absolutely.
we would be remiss if we did not touch on that here in this show,
Okay.
because he says, "In all thy ways,
Yep.
acknowledge him, and he would direct your path." And
Yep.
clearly, that's what you have done.
Yep. hmm So I told you I was going to tell you a story later to answer a question you didn't ask me. Here it is. When I started working in the coaching area, I wanted to look at my entire UPS career just to see what flowed, right? So I took all my assignments. I had about 20 of them over the 34 years I was there. I wrote them all down. I wrote down the types of people groups I led and what did I learn in each assignment. And I'll tell you what, it was more than obvious that I was spoon fed for 34 years over there in UPS. God gave me everything I ever needed for every challenge that ever came up. And we just kept going then, right?
That's
So,
amazing. And he does. I think about, as we're talking about this, and I know we're going to be running out of time, I think about all the things that we go through, the good, the
mhm,
bad, the indifferent, the ugly, all of that. But I know also, like you, I couldn't do what I
mm,
do
no,
if I hadn't gone through, and I mean go through,
not through.
all the
Yeah,
things we've gone through with
yeah,
work, relationships, everything, everything. And so and I do want to say to my listening audience, when you trust, when you trust, when
yep,
you have faith, when you know that you know, and you are led, guided, and directed, don't think about what you're going through. Just know that there's one, this too shall pass, and number two, there's a reason for it. Oh, there's something that you have got to learn from it, gain from it, and express from it. Trust me. All right. I was glad to say that. Okay. I'll
that's
shut
good.
up.
That's good. That's good. So there is, there's no doubt about that, about the fact that we are led constantly. And every single time I get into this conversation about following the Lord and going through the trials give us credibility to be able to speak, and other people can listen to what we've already gone through. I mean, that's what Jesus did, right? He spoke, he went through everything, put up with everything, never sinned, died for us, and everything's good. So when we are relying on what he says, and it's very important that we listen and remember and write down, journal, write down the things that happen and the promises that he made. Because the fact is, the promises are real.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
it so happens that when we get prophetic words or we get direction for the future, we are never ready for we're never ready for the outcome of the direction, right? We have to walk that journey.
Yes.
Now, this is very important. You mentioned the word faith. Faith is so important on this journey. And the point of focus, Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Absolutely.
So those two
Absolutely.
pieces say, if you are hoping based on something that the Lord has told you, hang on to it.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, you have the right to expect it to happen.
Yes.
And
And
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And so your whole everything that's happened to you, you see it. And you know the journals, I have to say this. The journals that the stuff you've been journaling, that's your book. You know
yeah,
that already though.
yeah, yeah.
That's your book. All right. Well,
Well,
listen, I do have another commercial I need to play, and then I'm going to have you come back with final words. And
okay,
I have enjoyed having you here. You have given a wealth of information through your story.
right.
Letting people know that companies do not have to manage people. When you
We
treat
didn't get to
people,
that
I
part.
love what you said from the very beginning. When you treat people the way you want to be treated,
Yep.
love thy neighbor as thyself. That applies to work. Come on
Absolutely.
now. It
That's a whole
applies
other
to
topic.
work.
That's a whole other topic, by the way.
Well, you might want to touch on it before we leave, just briefly. But let me pull up this commercial right quick, and then we'll be back.
Okay.
Soon as I find it. Okay, there we go.
Mama Knows creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products because Mama knows what you need.
Knows what you need. Let me tell you about these products. They are wonderful. They are wonderful. They smell great. They do what they're supposed to do. She's got shampoos, conditioners, moisturizers, hair serums, and they're for all ethnicities. Boys, girls, females, males. I'm telling you, check out Mama Knows products because Mama knows what you need. And I also want to share with you, I'm asking that you consider um, reviewing my show, and I'm putting the link for you to do that in the chat so that you can go to Podchasers and review my show. I just became a part of them, and so I'm looking for reviews, and I would appreciate you doing that. Also, if you are interested in consulting with me, talking to me about some concerns that you may have regarding your children, then I do want to encourage you to go to my link that I'm getting ready to put in here. And I had another commercial, but we don't have time for that. So let me put this in the chat, and feel free to call me for a free consultation. And let's see what we can do to instill greatness in you and your family. All right, we're running. Okay, so, okay. Oh, it's not. Okay, there we go. Oh, now it's telling me I've got too many things open. Okay. All right. So, you want to go ahead and share, give the final words?
Absolutely. So one of the I'm going to just discuss a bottom line message here, which is I hope you've picked up on in all the things that I've told you today. And that is that we have two options. Two options, basically. You either manage people or you lead them. Led people will follow you. Managed people will resist you. I was explaining what we did to another lady one day, and she came back with a statement that like was perfect. So so you're telling me I obey my managers but follow my leaders? And that is exactly the way the employees look at it. When they're being managed, they're being told what to do, and they're resisting in here because we by nature don't want to be told what to do. There's nothing wrong with saying this is somebody's job, but when it comes across as I'm telling you to do this message, people do this just like we would do, right?
Yes.
But when you're leading people and your number one responsibility really is to introduce them into the group, train them as best possible so they are successful in what they're being trained to do. There is a feeling of accomplishment in the two things I mentioned to you. First of all, introducing them to the group so they feel a member of a team, and that is very bonding and very good for the group. And that's employee need number one, to feel part of a team. But I mentioned employee need number two is to be successfully trained so they can feel successful in their job. That's number two.
Yeah.
Number three, to feel capable. Now, when you get to the point where somebody's doing their job, I'm giving this to you in a nutshell, doing it really well, now is the opportunity to come up and ask people, if I did it to you, Vera, I would say, Vera, you're doing a great job here. I appreciate all the effort you've done. You've been here for 3-4 weeks, whatever it might be. I said, is there anything here that you've seen so far that you'd like to learn how to do?
And see, I mean, just think, and I know we've got less than a minute, but just think if employees, employers, leaders, and managers had that concept, and I know that's what you do. You teach this stuff to companies on how to do this. And I'm telling you, the workplace would change. We would have less bullying. We would have less intimidation. We would have people feeling better about themselves, not having a lot of health issues. Come on now, this is the flow.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. That's good. Yeah.
Well, listen, final word, and then we're going to have to say goodbye. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week. You have a great weekend, and please take heed to the message here and share it. If you are a manager or a leader, you want to take heed to what's been said, and you want to contact Stephen Turner and the Flow Business Solutions. And let me put that in the chat again. And we got another comment. Let's see. She says, thank you. Nicola says, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Let me put your information back in the chat so that people can reach you. I'm telling you, he knows what he's doing and what he's talking about because he's lived it.
Many years, and I love it. I love it.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I've kind of said the last thing that we need to say. So anyway, thank you very much. Will you please hold on and not go anywhere? And I will see you all next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
The Vera and Tommy Show. 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 Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk